Hello, Rachel Abba Mentor here. Welcome to our Wednesday live clarity check-in. So beautiful to be here. So beautiful to see you. So let's jump right in. Come on. I will give you the few moments just to join in and hop on. Checking in as usual. For those who are new to my page, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And for those who are familiar with my page, familiar with me, thank you so much for your continued support. And Wednesday check-ins are just becoming so important for my own journey and just loving the response that I've been getting both here and in my DMs and offline. This is something that I really didn't know how it was going to impact people, how it was going to be received. You never know until you do it, until you put yourself out there. So what I can say is this has been deeply enriching, very interesting, and fulfilling in the sense that we truly are a community. And we're building these connections and creating opportunities to contribute and to raise each other up. So, yay to clarity check-ins. So, I'll introduce myself again. As I said, my name is Rachel Abba, and I am a fixer of crowns and a faith-based clarity mentor for ambitious women of faith who are looking to go from confusion, chaos to clarity and purpose and walking in your God-led authority. And there are many different ways to look at this. You might be thinking, well, I don't necessarily have chaos in my life, and you know there are challenges here and there, yet I'm doing okay. I'm handling my business. And yes, you are. And I'm here to also say that you get to do this in a way that is easy, and that you are not walking alone. And for anyone who is ever, again, ambitious, you've got goals and you've got dreams, you've got aspirations of how you can have a social impact and kingdom build, you already know that this is done in community. You get to do this with support. And anyone who is on those levels of rising and building, you get to have a mentor. I know that I have mentors as well. So why is that important? I know that I don't have all the answers. I know that my own knowledge and book learning and know-how is limited, which is why not only do I lean on other people who have different areas of expertise that I can draw from and also in return support, I also know that ultimately the ultimate mentor in my experience has been the Holy Spirit. And I've found that in life, especially when you get into this rat race of striving and building and doing and achieving, that you can see it too. Even when you have achieved that goal that you think is the be all and end all, okay, I've arrived, it is still possible for that to feel empty. Has that ever happened to you? Where you work so hard on something and then you achieve it, and then it's like, wah, wah. Then immediately you are chasing after the next thing. And then the next thing you think, if I just get that next job, if I just get that next relationship, if I just get that next child, if I just get that next perfect outfit, shoes, dress, whatever, if I just get that perfect house, the perfect car, you're looking at things outside of yourself to gauge fulfillment. And in some ways also to measure your value and your self-worth. That if I can achieve it, then I'm worth it. That thinking is so limited and so, it can be so damaging to the heart and the soul and the mind, just the whole, you as a whole and complete being. And for me, I don't think it was anything that I was doing on purpose and thinking my value, I equate my value to something outside of myself. It's just kind of the way this capitalist world is set up sometimes. And I started realizing, here's when I realized it. When I got laid off from a corporate job years back, I was in sales and marketing, and I got laid off because I was the last one in, first one out. And so I didn't realize how deeply I had identified myself with that role. And when I looked deeper, it wasn't even the role itself. It was the fact that somehow I had tied in my value and my contribution to a paycheck and being part of a team. And I'd been doing that so, especially when you're good at it, when you do it so well and you get comfortable, like I did, that when this layoff happened, I felt blindsided. I felt destabilized. I felt like a loser. Like I felt as if I had failed on some level, that somehow I was looked at from a sea of people and the decision was made based on my value and my contribution, that I was not good enough. That's not what was said. That's not how it happened. Yet somehow that was a story that my subconscious had come up with. And that could not have been true if there wasn't already a seed planted from before childhood, 0 to 8 years old, that somehow my worthiness, my value comes from what I can give, what I can produce, what I can show tangibly in order to win my spot, to justify my place, to justify my taking up space and breathing air, right? That was, it defined my existence somehow. So I invite you to just pause for a moment and consider, in what ways might you be equating your personal value and worth as a whole and complete human being with what you can do for other people, how you're perceived by others, what material possessions you have, what your life looks like, what kind of car you drive, whether or not you're wearing designer labels, how you speak. How do you identify? Do you really believe that you're a person of worth and value without all the external stuff, without all the bells and whistles? Do you truly know? Now we're going from belief to knowing. Do you truly know what your identity is, who you're being, and what that identity is built upon? What foundation? What is it rooted in? Do you feel that your identity, your sense of self is unshakable? So when I was in that job and I was just putting my head down and doing my work, doing the best I could, and getting a paycheck as proof that I am of value, then that was immediately taken away. I didn't realize that my identity was placed in my career, in my job title, in my role on a team, until it was taken away. Now, you use that lens and you consider across the board in your life, in your family, in your health, in your friendships, in your faith walk with God, in just across the board. How do you identify? What is your foundation? What do you actually believe and what do you know? Should any of these one areas be negatively impacted, where you feel as if the rug has been pulled out from under you, what would you believe of yourself? And what would you know to be true about yourself? Should any of these areas of your life be impacted? Because for me, I didn't know until it was taken away. And oftentimes in life, most people don't truly know what they're capable of, and they don't truly know the truth of what they believe and what they think until it's impacted negatively and you're shaken out of your comfort zone. Because that's what happened to me. I was shaken out of my comfort zone. Suddenly I didn't have a paycheck. Suddenly I didn't have the people around me that I thought were my friends. How many companies talk about, oh, we're like a family? When lifes and things happen and go sideways and it's not as you planned, and then you don't know what your next move is, do you have clarity about who you are and who you're being and what your values are? And do you have clarity about meaningful decision making, so that it need not be, and you need not find yourself in a position of chaos in order to be able to navigate your way through perceived challenges? Navigate your way through issues and relationship crossroads that you might not necessarily have considered until you're pushed, until life strongly encourages you to make a move. In my case, life was strongly encouraging me to switch roles, change my job, change my environment. It was time. I didn't want to because I felt comfortable. I didn't want to because what would I do? I'd have to, oh my God, I'd have to start all over again. I'd have to get to know a whole bunch of new people. I'd have to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'd have to learn something new, maybe in a new environment. So much change. So instead, I chose to remain comfortable. Should I have had a different mindset, I would not have felt as blindsided as I did. See, what happens when you're able to navigate change and build a muscle of not only resilience, but also knowing who you're being, which at the time, full transparency, I thought I knew who I was. However, not until my identity in a particular career role was taken away did I realize it was actually the role. I had just completely ignored and betrayed myself for so long, hiding in the persona of the role, of the job, the comfort of the paycheck, that I had neglected my own self. I was pushing through. I was being a team player. I was being, a good daughter, a good wife. I was being reliable. I was being responsible. And only years after did I realize, as I then embarked on doing my own work, my personal development of revisiting my relationship with myself and getting radically honest about what I wanted and who I was being, who I wanted to become, what felt true to me. That was a start. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination scratching the surface. Only to realize there's such a thing as doing the self-work and then now pinning, which is what I did. Hello, Chinyere. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Good to see you. Greetings. Thanks for joining. So I'm sharing about how I went the other extreme. I went from relying on the job, relying on an employer, and building my identity on that, to now feeling so hurt and so traumatized and going into this pain story that I then said, well, you can't trust people. I mean, this is not what I was saying, but this is the thinking. This is the mentality. I got hurt this way, so now I can only rely on myself. Did a full switch and then went into, if it's to be, it's up to me, right? Doing and going that solo journey of attempting to white knuckle it alone, because at least I can rely on myself. I can depend on myself. So that way it was self-protecting. It was a trauma response. I was self-protecting and building. And yes, I was seeing results. Yes, there are benefits to that. However, I can say, having been through both of those sides, I can say that yes, I experienced success, and yes, it was unsustainable. Because human beings are relational beings. We're supposed to be in community. And when I knew what I was doing, I was keeping to myself and building furiously on my own because I was afraid. I was afraid of feeling hurt. I was afraid of trusting. I was afraid of putting my confidence outside of myself. I was afraid of letting others in. And by confidence, I mean trust, because that's what it is. Confidence is full trust. And so then I realized that, only focusing on yourself can also be shaky ground. Because I can't be all things to all people, including myself. At some point in time, you get to let someone in, Rachel. Then I realized that not only had I first neglected myself in a corporate environment, in a job, looking solely dependent on an employer, then I went to depending on myself, which I'm finite. I'm a human being. I don't know it all. I'm not designed as an island to be alone. Then I realized that the true foundation that is unshakable is not in your employer, is not in yourself alone by your own strength, struggling and striving. The foundation is actually in a living God, because that is my creator. Going back to the source of all life, having that strong foundation in Jesus Christ specifically. That's what I'm talking about, because I identify as a Christian. So having that strong foundation in my faith and in my experience, because you can become, and I'm not talking religion and religiosity, I'm talking about experience. When you have a spiritual experience, we're talking transformation, not going through the motions because it's what you were taught to do. There's a big difference. And I'll touch on this. When it's religiosity, because religion is man-made, rules and regulations, very legalistic. When you're dealing with religion, because there are a lot of people, myself included, who have experienced church hurt. So religion can be wielded as a tool of oppression and upliftment. So it really is in the hands of the people, and everyone's experience is their own. So I honor that. Growing up as a Christian is one thing. Then having your own personal experience with God that is transformational is another. The first one, which is just you do what you're told and you're just religious, church hurt can turn you away from God. People can be the reason why you decide to turn your back on your faith, turn away from God and walk away and say, you know what? I want no part of it. I just want to live my life in peace. Only other people and your experience with other people can do that. That's how you know that you are being religious. When you go through an experience with God, where the Holy Spirit comes in you, through you, transforms you, and you become reborn, a new being in Christ. There is not one human being on the planet or an experience, pain, hurt, anything that can ever shift you away from the living God. Because your foundation is not in institutions, your foundation is not in dogma, your foundation is not in people. That is why, you can have people who, like the early Christians, who are, they could be martyred and they're still glorifying God's name. Not because they wanted to die, but because what they knew to be true in their relationship with God was not based on anything tangible, wasn't based on any external factors. It was a deep knowing. It was a relationship that cannot be switched off because they know that they know in every fiber of their being. That's the difference. People cannot change your mind when it comes to God when you've had an authentic experience that is transformational. It's not about religion. It's not about dogma. So building my confidence, my knowing, my faith, guided by the discernment of the Holy Spirit. When that happened, that's when I experienced, I think, if not for the first time, then I was reminded of what deep clarity, spiritual clarity actually is. That my foundation gets to be built on God, specifically Christ. And when I have that, then what I get to experience is the peace that passeth all understanding. And oftentimes when you chase success, you realize success is not what it was you wanted all along. What you actually want is the peace that comes with your perception of success. The peace that allows you to access inspiration, relationship, feels like communion, clarity. You're walking in your authority. You know and claim your worth. You know your value because all of those things are founded in God's identity. As your creator, you literally take on the identity that God intended for his children. So you're unshakable. By default, you're unshakable. It's a beautiful chapter. It's a beautiful space to experience. Because then as you navigate through life and things happen, shifts happen, whether it be with your career, in your relationship, in your friendships, in your finances, in your health, you remain steadfast and not in fear, because fear is not of the Lord. So you begin to think on a different level. You begin to access thought that is inspired. And from inspired thought, you're able to generate inspired solutions, which is why part of the work that I do is supporting ambitious women of faith and asking deeply impactful questions that bring about transformative solutions, meaningful decision making. How do you navigate through your day, through your thoughts, through your relationship, through, like, with intention, all aspects of your life, so that the results you're generating are in alignment with God's divine plan for your life? Your life is literally a receipt, proof of who you're being, what you believe, what you know, being in alignment with your divine identity, seeing yourself and experiencing yourself the way God sees you and experiences you. That's powerful. So that as you're navigating through, you become masterful in the way you're able to identify the enemy, the works of the enemy, how you're able to navigate and make decisions that are spirit-led, God-led, Christ-based, so that you release this idea of second-guessing yourself and doubt and double-mindedness, confusion, chaos. Because you're walking in peace, these things are just, your way is on a whole other level, so that you're embracing clarity. You're embracing your spiritual authority. You're embracing confidence. You have the courage to be able to stand in who you are, in who God says you are, and the peace. So you're no longer chasing success the way you did before, the way I did before, valuing a paycheck as my worth. No. I get to write my checks, knowing whose daughter I am, that I'm a daughter of the living God, and nothing is too great for my Father, and that I get to walk in peace because that is the promise. That is my birthright. And as I walk in peace, I have divine clarity. I'm not stressed out. I'm not in fear. The flesh can feel that, and that's okay. Ultimately, I know who's in control. So I get to move with a supreme, supernatural level of confidence, because I trust my Creator, and I trust that as I walk in alignment with what is God's will, no weapon fashioned against me shall ever prosper. Nothing, no tool, no weapon of the enemy can ever come against me. You can't win unless God says so. So that's the level. That's the level. I feel so grateful to have learned just that little lesson. Little, yet massive impact. Who does God say you are? What do you know to be true about who you're being? Right now, in this moment in your life, are there things you've been putting off? Decisions you've been procrastinating about making? Maybe not even thinking that, you get to make them another time. It's not that deep right now. I can just waiting for life to just make the decision for you, that it just kind of flushes itself out and you don't have to be the bad guy. That starts tying into people pleasing, right? So there are many ways, and I invite you to step in and step up and have the courage to ask yourself before life makes the decision for you. Is your life reflective of your values? Are you being who deep down you know God has called you to be? Are you having the impact in the world you would like to have? Are you having that impact in your own life? What is the quality of your relationships? Are you nurturing them? Are you making space and time for them? Are they fulfilling? Are you feeling fulfilled in your own life? Are there areas where, should you be honest with yourself, there's room for improvement? These are the questions, asking these thoughtful questions intentionally to get answers that could lead you to your next step, to your next level in life. Okay, so I'm going to jump off now. Before I do, thank you for joining me. Thank you. Your time is such an important, invaluable resource. Probably one of the most, if not the most valuable resource any of us have is time. So thank you so much for taking the time to hop on here with me. And whether you do it now or you catch this later as a replay, thank you so much for taking the time to listen and to share your time and to share your thoughts and ideas. I encourage you always to interact in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions, any thoughts, share them, and I'd be more than happy to jump on and address it in the next live. So every Wednesday between 1 and 2, I do this, and it is always a pleasure. So, before I forget, I will also, good thing, thank you. I will also be doing a clarity call. It's an event, actually, a clarity event live. It's going to take place on May 4th, which is a Sunday. So May 4th at 5 o'clock. Okay, we kick off live at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 4th. And so very much the same way I'm jumping on here to do a live clarity check-in with you. This will be an opportunity for those of you as well who the timing might not serve you on Wednesdays. And perhaps, you want to be able to get into something a bit more personal and you're not quite certain how to do it in this format where I'm just jumping on live. So for those of you who require a bit more guidance and room to be able to share and contribute, then I definitely would recommend that you join me on Sunday, May 4th, where it's going to be a live clarity conversation together on Zoom. So I'll send the details. So let me know. Anyone, I'll put the details in this post so you can indicate that you want to join in. A Zoom link will be sent to you, and we get to commune together live on Sunday, May 4th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? And we're going to be looking at some of the mistakes and misconceptions that ambitious women of faith might have, most likely have, that keeps you from walking in your divine authority and peace. Okay, so I'll be covering in detail those things. And also, for those of you who might not be able to join on that day, please take a look at my post. I've been doing, it's a 15-part series, and it covers different aspects of walking in your spiritual authority and why that walking in your spiritual authority now more than ever before is so important, especially in these times. The game has leveled up and it's changed. So I would recommend that you please look through at your leisure the posts that I've been putting out recently on spiritual authority. Take that as inspiration to be able to come up with your thoughts and your questions and assess your situation and your current chapter. I believe I even have an assessment tool that you can click on in my, I believe it's in my bio. You can click on that, and it's a quiz. It's like a 3-minute quiz that you can take just to assess in what area of your life might require support. Okay, so there are many tools available. They're all free. I would love to see you May 4th at 5 p.m. So looking forward to it. See you on the other side. In the meantime, I see you and I honor you. Remain blessed. Bye for now.